Hello, 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 hello. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I had to double check the video, the sound, the lighting. Everything is strange because I'm broadcasting away from my home. I'm outside of my home this week, but still coming to you live. And we're going to be talking about some vocabulary, a little bit of pronunciation, and some American culture today. And I was inspired by today's lesson and to talk about American culture and vocabulary by two reasons. Two things inspired me. Before we get into the inspiration of this lesson, before we get into the goods, I need to do a quick introduction of myself in case you're new and this is your first time. If you're new, I want to know where you're coming from, where you're watching from, and if you're new. If you're watching live, say hello in the chat and tell me where you're from. Tell me if you're new. I already see some familiar faces and I know where you're from, and I'm so happy to have you back. The great thing about these live lessons is the ability to participate and connect with me live during the lesson. So as I ask questions, as I go through the lesson, definitely write in the chat, get some writing practice, get some English practice, and you can get some feedback from me live. Again, that's a benefit of coming live. And we have Brazil, Iran, Germany, Saudi Arabia. So awesome. We have a lot of great diversity in the chat, which I love. So I am Jennifer Nascimento, and I'm the teacher here at English Outside the Box. And English Outside the Box is an online English company, website, education place for you to improve your English. Specifically, I help you and I help learners around the world improve their everyday English skills. Everyday English skills are skills that you need to live, work, travel, and survive daily in English. So these everyday English skills are grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary. We talk about writing tips and speaking tips, and we talk about a lot of things on this website. So again, I'm so happy to have you if you're new and if you're joining me again. So as we talk about culture today and a little bit of vocabulary and some pronunciation, I want to know something interesting about your culture. So I am from the United States. I'm from California, so I am American. I teach American English. I obviously focus on the American accent as I teach. And today I'm talking about the American culture because that's what I know, that's what I live in, and that's what I'm able to talk about. The great thing is with this live lesson is you sharing something about your culture with me and everybody else. So tell me something interesting about your culture, live in the chat or in the comments below if you're watching the replay. I want this to be a celebration of diversity and a celebration of different cultures. Gosh, look at this bang, just getting all crazy, stuck in my eyelash. All right, so we have Mongolia, Brazil, again, Germany, so many different places represented here. So tell me something interesting about your culture, because today we're going to be talking about faux pas. What? Faux pas. Faux pas, okay? Let me just write in the chat. This is the faux pas. This is the title of today's lesson. So faux pas is in the title of this lesson, but faux pas is F-A-U-X-P-A-S. Faux pas. So when you see this word, it's not fox or folks, it's not pas. We don't pronounce the X, we don't pronounce the S. That's faux pas. Faux pas. It's spelled the same way if it's plural, pronounced a little bit differently. Faux pas. faux pas. And today we're talking about faux pas, more than one faux pas in this lesson. And a faux pas is an embarrassing social mistake. An embarrassing social mistake. And it sounds like French because we stole it from French. So it comes from French, so that's why it is pronounced differently, and that's why it looks like it is French. So faux pas is an embarrassing social mistake. Now, I mentioned that there were two things that inspired me to make this live lesson about vocabulary and American culture. And one of the inspirations was my conversation club. So I have a monthly fluency training program, an ongoing training program that helps the members, helps the English learners practice, improve, and speak more English. It's a conversation club focusing on speaking. Now, in the materials that I just released yesterday, in this week's new materials, there was an article, and the article talks about a faux pas. The article talks about a faux pas. Specifically, we're talking about interrupting people in a conversation. So this is a faux pas. So the idea of this inspired me to create this lesson because my members might not have known what faux pas is, and you might not have known what faux pas is. So that is why we're talking about faux pas. The other inspiration is that I'm here in a hotel this week because my husband is doing some job training. So we're outside of the home and we're in this hotel, and this hotel is right by an airport, and it is full of people from all around the world. And I have met some people from Saudi Arabia. I've met someone from Japan. I've met someone from China. And I know I've heard some Spanish in the halls. I heard some Russian, I believe, this morning at breakfast. So there are people from around the world. And we're all together in this small space. And sometimes there are cultural differences that happen. And one of the things I noticed was getting on and off the elevator. So when you're inside an elevator and you're getting off, typically similar to a subway or a bus, everybody on the outside needs to wait for everybody on the inside to exit. They need to wait for everybody on the inside to leave. So you wait on the outside for everybody to exit the elevator before you go in. However, I've been in a lot of situations that I'm walking, not really paying attention. I have my coffee and I'm walking out of the elevator and I've run into somebody. And this person maybe didn't know that that was a social thing that was necessary, waiting to get on the elevator. And then that made me think about other faux pas, other mistakes that people can make. Now, I have traveled around the world. I'm sure I have definitely done some things that are culturally inappropriate, not because I'm rude, but because I didn't know. So that is why I hope today, if you're planning on moving to the US to live, moving to the US to travel or go to school, you'll learn a couple of things about what is acceptable, what is appropriate here in the US. But I want to pop into the chat just to see a little bit, to learn a little bit about more cultures first. So the most common surname in Brazil is Silva and Nascimento. I'm a Nascimento, so I have the most common name in Brazil. Your surname is Italian, from Brazil, but I'm living in Mongolia. I've got a huge culture shock by the time you arrived. Yuri, I would love to know what culture shock you experienced in Mongolia. One of the Iranian culture, if a guest comes to our country, we are very kind and try for them to have an interesting time in our country. Awesome. That is very good to know when I come to Iran. Indonesia, hi. All right. So again, if you're joining us, tell me something interesting about your culture in the chat. If you're watching the replay, tell me something interesting about your culture in the comments. The first faux pas that we're going to talk about, the first embarrassing mistake we're going to talk about today is Kissing. Kissing. So kissing is something that is unique. It's saved. It is only for people that you know and people that you love. So it is not common in American culture to kiss somebody that you just meet, kiss somebody who is maybe a stranger or just an acquaintance. Kissing is not acceptable in the US unless you have a relationship already established. So I know because I've lived in Brazil that it's very common to kiss someone on the cheek, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times even. It's common to kiss someone on the cheek when you meet them. So if you come to the US and you're from a city, from a state, from a country that's acceptable, like Brazil, if you come to the US and you meet someone and you go in for a kiss, you might be in an uncomfortable or awkward situation because you will lean in for the kiss and the person will be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So a common faux pas in American culture is kissing someone when you meet them. We do not do it here in the United States. It's not common. It is not part of our culture. So if you come to the US, we often will shake hands to somebody that we just meet. So, hi, I'm Jennifer. It's so nice to meet you. If a friend is introducing me to their friend, I maybe can hug them, but it's often to say, oh, I'm a hugger, or oh, I love hugs, or oh, I give hugs. And you say that you're going to give a hug before you give the hug. And that is a really good thing to do because the US, it's also really common to consider personal space. So personal space is the amount of space you give to another individual. And in the US, it's common to give personal space. So again, when you go in for the kiss or you go in for the hug, you're invading, you're getting into someone's personal space. All right. Okay. Oh, so popping back into this chat to help my live viewers watching to give some feedback. In Brazil, we never wait for people to get out of the elevator or the train. We must be ready to fight every time. Oh my gosh, I don't remember this from living in Brazil. For example, in Mongolia, if you're on a bus and by accident you step on someone's foot, instead of saying, I'm sorry as usual, we just have to shake hands. It's pretty common here. Very interesting. Like Arabs, we used to do that. Shaking hands, yes, in Germany as well. Sometimes we give them a hug, but to close people, And kissing in France to say hello. In our country, kissing is also very common in Iran. Interesting. Very interesting. So it's not common in the US unless you already have an established relationship. But let's move on to another faux pas in American English. And it's something that I experience even as an English teacher online sometimes. And I just did a really quick Instagram live lesson this morning before this YouTube lesson, and I asked some people about this faux pas. So the second faux pas we're going to talk about in American culture is haggling or bargaining prices at a store. So a new vocabulary word, to haggle a price, to bargain. So that means to try and negotiate the price. You, as somebody who is buying something, will talk to the person selling something and try to change the price. So for example, look how beautiful this pillow is. Do you want this beautiful mustard yellow pillow? Well, it's yours and it's only $75. It's hand woven. I stitched it by hand, custom made. It's only $75. If I say in a store that this is $75 in the US, then you need to be ready to pay $75. It is not common. It is a faux pas to say, No, I'll give you 50. We do not haggle. We do not bargain in the majority of US stores. It just does not happen. So haggling or changing prices is not something that's common. And if you try to haggle a price, then you will be committing a faux pas. You will be committing an embarrassing social mistake. All right. So Dreamy, haggle and bargain. Yes. So she has written it. Thank you so much, Adriana. So haggle, Haggle, and bargain, Bargain. All right. So bargaining and haggling is just not common. So that means when you come to the US and you want to buy something, the price is the price. And in the Instagram lesson today, somebody said that in Italy, it's common to bargain. And I'm not sure. I've never experienced bargaining in Italy. I have experienced haggling for some prices in Thailand, but my Instagram viewers from Thailand today said that they've never done it. So again, I want to celebrate diversity, learn about different cultures in this lesson. So is haggling common in your country? Is it common to bargain or try to change the price? In Germany, it is not common to haggle. Or in Germany, it's not common to haggle either. At least I haven't encountered it yet. So Dreamy, I am reading your sentence as it should be written and corrected. In East Africa, living in Turkey, and our cultural difference is very huge. Yes, I imagine. Don't you bargain even in street markets or when buying from someone in person? So again, about bargaining and haggling for prices, this is really common in stores. Sometimes when a person is selling something, so let's say I'm going to sell my car. I will advertise my car and I will say, I'm selling my car for $10,000. OBO. OBO. And OBO means or better offer. And when somebody writes OBO on something they're selling, that is indicating that it is okay to haggle and bargain. They are waiting for you to offer, for you to say a price. So if you see something in the States that says OBO, it means or better offer. And that is inviting you to say a different price. On street markets, maybe it's a little different because again, it's not a store, it's a street market. There's a little bit more flexibility there. But it's also very common if you go to a street market, somebody has created jewelry or a blanket and it's something that they have created and they have put a value on. So they think, I took so much time to make this pillow and I really think that the value of this pillow is $75. My time, my energy, my expertise, the quality is $75. So even at street markets, sometimes it can be perceived as rude to say to somebody who has a handmade good, I only want to give you 50, because it's kind of like telling them your hard work and this product that you created, it's not worth $75 to me. It's only worth 50. So that's why it can be considered rude when you try to bargain and haggle prices. And that's, again, in American culture. Again, there are exceptions, but we don't want to go into all of those exceptions. Today, this is generally speaking. Common to haggle in Mongolia, but if the salesperson gives you a discount, you better buy that thing. Otherwise, oh man, you've got a problem. Yuri, I love it. I don't know how to describe the action, but in Turkey, they consider it inappropriate, and the guy was mad at me, but the problem was I did not know that cultural thing. The first day in, someone said hi to me and replied to him while I was sitting in my legs above one another. Yes, I have heard. My husband went to Egypt, and my husband sat with his legs crossed with one on top of the other, and somebody on the bus pushed my husband's foot off of his leg. And my husband was really like, oh, like, what happened? Obviously, he knew it was something cultural, so he just accepted it and smiled. And later he learned that when you sit with your feet crossed, when the bottom of your foot, when the sole of your foot faces somebody else, that's very rude. It's disrespectful. So again, that's a great example of something culturally appropriate that my husband learned in Egypt. So Mohammed, maybe that's something that you experienced. All right, another one you've probably learned about is tipping. Tipping, to tip. To tip is when you give extra money, a percent, on top of your bill. Now, tipping is necessary in the US. Unfortunately, it is necessary. And really, when you go out to a restaurant, when you go to the hairstylist, when you go to this nail salon, when you go to most service industries where someone is providing you a service, if you do not tip, you most likely will be perceived as something negative. Even in situations that I've received bad service, I still will tip some small percentage because, again, that is what is culturally accepted and really culturally expected, necessary, appropriate. So if you travel to the US, especially when you eat at a restaurant, you have to be very aware of tipping, of giving a percentage. Typically, they say 10 to 20% of your bill. So a good average is about 15%. Most people tip around 18% and 20% if it's really great service. So a faux pas is not tipping. If you go to the US and you go eat at a restaurant and you get great service, you should tip. You need to tip. It's a part of the American culture. And I've experienced both sides of this. When I moved and I lived and I worked in Australia, I did a little bit of serving. I was a waitress for a period of time. And I had a very big table. I had 20 people sitting in a group at my table that I was serving food and drinks, and I was helping them all night. The bill was over $1,000. So I was thinking, as it was my very first experience there, the tip was going to be really great. And when they gave the bill, the tip was $0. And oh my gosh, I thought, did I do something wrong? Did they get bad service? Was there something wrong with their experience? And my colleagues, my Australian colleagues, reassured me. They told me, Jennifer, don't worry. It wasn't anything you did. We do not tip in Australia. It's not common. It's not part of our culture. So I had to learn the other side of that when I moved to Australia and I was not tipped as a waitress. There was another instance where I went out with people, my family, from Brazil. And in Brazil, I don't believe it's very common to tip, or actually in Brazil, I think they include the tip or there's something else. But we went out with my Brazilian family and they insisted on paying the bill. They wanted to pay the bill. So I said, okay. I didn't look at the bill. Nothing was said. They paid, they signed, we left. As we were leaving, the waitress said, excuse me, was there something wrong with your meal? Was there a bad experience because you didn't tip? And so I thought, oh no, I'm so sorry. This was great. I didn't pay the bill. They're not from here. They weren't sure. So we fixed it and we tipped the table accordingly. But you can see that even the waitress in this restaurant stopped us, said, hey, wait, why didn't you tip? So you can see how important it is, how part of the American culture that tipping is. Is tipping common in your country? Is it common to tip where you live? If so, what do you typically tip on? What types of service, what types of things, and how much? Let me come back to the chat here. So it's common to haggle in Mongol. Okay. It's not very common for people to hug and kiss each other normally unless someone is leaving to another place. So interesting, Dora. Dora, you're talking about like kissing each other, maybe with some passion. I was even just talking about simple, hello, I'm Jennifer, kisses when you greet. That is not common in the US. And it's Brazil, yes, it's common to give kisses. For example, suppose I go to a restaurant to have a sandwich, how much should I pay as a tip? So, Madi, great question. If you come to the US and you go to a sandwich shop, if you are ordering something at a counter, that means you go to somewhere fast food. Typically, you do not tip in a fast food industry. You tip when someone's providing you a service. So somebody is bringing you your sandwich. Somebody is bringing you drinks. Someone is bringing you refills. Somebody is cleaning your plate, taking away your plate. Those are the types of services in a restaurant that you would tip for. And Madi, if you're in a restaurant that is serving you a sandwich, and it's a restaurant that they are bringing you food, checking on you, and taking your plate, you typically tip 10 to 20%. Typically 15 to 18 is what is most common. When I went to the US restaurant, cashier got mad because I paid with coins. Woo! Yes. When you pay with a lot of coins, sometimes depending on the amount, that can be frustrating just because it takes a long time to count them. And it's heavy and it's a lot of money in there. So typically in the US, we'll pay with coins just to make exact change, but we won't pay for a lot of the price, a lot of the amount in coins. That's just not common. Unfortunately, some places the locals try to pull a fast one. I like that expression, on you if you're a foreigner. Yes. That's why the best way to get a discount is to speak the local language and be friendly. Yes. In Turkey, tipping is normal only for the big restaurants, but if you just eat from a normal or a small restaurant and you give a tip to the waiter around, and you give a tip to the waiter, people around you will wonder, so if you give a tip in small restaurants in Turkey, people will wonder what you're doing maybe. Not common in Mongolia, not common in your country, yes. So tipping is common in the US. Don't commit the faux pas. In Indonesia, if someone stands in front of someone else, takes his hands, on the West, it shows that that person is ready for a fight. Wow. So if you're if you are in Indonesia, don't grab someone's hands. That's bad. Bargaining is quite common if you're in the market in Malaysia, but not the mall or restaurant. Yes. All right. So that was some pronunciation, faux pas, haggle, bargain, some vocabulary that we've learned in today's lesson. We've also talked a little bit about American cultural tips. So things you need to do. So if you come to the US, be careful. Do not commit these faux pas. In American culture, we do not kiss people we just meet. We do not haggle or bargain prices typically. And we always tip in a restaurant and service industries. So those are what you need to make sure you do and think about when you travel, live, or work in the US. Finally, as a reminder, I had said that this lesson was an inspiration from my conversation club, because the theme that we're talking about this week is how to interrupt someone when you speak. So we know that it's rude to interrupt someone when we speak. It's rude to interrupt. It's rude to cut someone off. But in the conversation club this week and this month, we're talking about tips on how to do it. We're talking about how to interrupt someone appropriately, how to interrupt a conversation to make the conversation stronger. We're going to be utilizing the tips in our group conversation calls and in the other speaking opportunities that the members get in this training program. So if you are new watching, if you're a repeat listener, if you've listened to these lessons before, you know about the Conversation Club. So this is a fluency training program, which means it's helping you improve your English fluency. Now, I want to tell you about the Conversation Club right now because it has changed it has improved. So if you've been thinking about joining, now's the time to do it because it's even better than it was before. The Conversation Club is connecting you with the opportunity to learn like a native speaker learns, similar to how a child learns. I'm giving you the opportunities to learn, to hear, to listen, to shadow, to practice. I'm giving you many, many opportunities to learn and practice English, just like a native speaker does. That means that you are going to learn more naturally, you're going to learn quickly, and you're going to improve your fluency, specifically your speaking. I've added new bonus materials. I've added another group conversation call and more opportunities to connect with the other members to practice speaking. So if you need to improve your speaking, then you need to increase your opportunities for speaking. So join the Conversation Club and learn more English with me. All right. So coming back to this live chat for just a minute. Yes. So Adriana, the expression was to pull a fast one on you. To pull a fast one on you. So typically, if someone tries to pull a fast one on you, they try to trick you. They try to trick you because maybe you don't know the rules. And they were saying that in a store, someone will try to pull a fast one on you if you're not local and try to trick you into doing something. Yes, good. And Yuri is giving the description in the chat as well. All right. So again, thank you so much for joining me in this live lesson. Thank you so much for learning with me. Remember, you can learn with me right here on YouTube every single Tuesday at the same time, 8:30 a.m. PST. I'm in the Los Angeles time zone, so you want to look at California, Los Angeles, 8:30 a.m. and match it to your time, and you can join me for the next live lesson. Participate in the chat, practice, and improve your English. Again, if you're watching the live replay, practice and answer some of the questions in the comments below. And if you're ready to learn even more, if you want to become a more fluent English speaker, if you want to learn phrasal verbs, if you want to learn idioms and expressions, if you want to practice them, if you want the materials to practice active and passive listening, reading, writing opportunities, if you need to improve your English fluency, then I highly recommend and I invite you to join my monthly training program. The link to join, the link to learn is in the description of this video. And you can also go to bit.ly/PVClub1. And that is the very short link to join this training program. So if today, Madi Malachi, if you're saying don't go, if this lesson was not enough and you want to learn with me even more, then you've got to join the Conversation Club and this fluency training program. Everybody who participated live, you rock. Thank you so much for learning with me. Your participation will definitely help you. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the Conversation Club. I'll see you here next Tuesday. Happy studying. I wish you the best.